Content warnings: arachnophobia, uncanny characters, body horror, bugs in human bodies. Please listen at your own discretion. The Usher Foundation, Episode 4, Ensnared.
Statement of Jared Craven, age 22 at time of statement. Statement number 0412222007. Summary of statement: an account of the disappearance of a student. Original statement taken April 12, 2007. Recorded by Amita Dasgupta, archival assistant at the Usher Foundation of Paranormal Research, Washington, D.C. Statement as follows. I don't believe in the... what do you guys call it? The paranormal? The supernatural? Whatever. It's a lot of bullshit, okay? Honestly, when my coworker told me about you guys, I couldn't believe our tax dollars were funding something like this. Turns out they aren't, I guess. Some rich British guy funds this place, but still, it's stupid that this foundation even exists. I'm only talking to you all because the police won't listen to me anymore. My friend Marcia, you have her statement already, she was here last week, said that talking to you guys helps. I don't know. Marcia was always a little crazier than me. I don't even like her that much, you know? She was always such a bitch in high school, but I guess when you go through something like what we went through, it tends to bring you closer. So I'm here now. And maybe you guys can do a better investigation than the cops. I'm a student at... You know what? It doesn't matter. Let's just say I had to do quite a bit of driving to get here. I live in Georgia, and my parents weren't exactly thrilled about their gay son going to study fashion, so I pay for most of my own education. Actually, technically I study textile history and construction, but to my parents it's all the same. It's not so bad. I afford tuition by working in my school's theater department, making costumes for the actors. There are a healthy amount of students there for part-time work. It's a lot of late nights, a lot of bonding with other classmates, a lot of really easy technical stuff. I honestly don't mind it. Usually. I mean, except for Ari. Ari was a classmate of mine and Marcia's. One of those quiet girls, you know? Lots of people think of theater kids and they think loud, extroverted, whatever. The thing is, behind-the-scenes people like us, we're the total opposite. Most of us hate the spotlight. Ari more so than the rest of us. She was always so standoffish. Not mean, mind you. She was always polite and helpful whenever we asked her for anything. But she always liked to work alone. She never made the effort to get to know us better, you know? And you tend to get close with people when you work that many late nights with them. Ari just never did with any of us. She was always weird that way. I think part of it was that she was so goddamn good. It pains me a little to say it even now. Besides working together on the costumes, Ari and I had a design class together, and the majority of our assignments were practicing our figure drawing and sketching fashion designs. Ari was fucking fantastic. Easily top of the class. I was always jealous of her for that. It was like she could read the professor's mind and draw exactly what he was thinking. I'm a good tailor, a pretty damn good one, actually, but I always struggled with my own original designs. Seeing Ari sketch things so effortlessly always felt a little like a personal attack against me. I mean, I know it wasn't, but still. I'm rambling. Sorry, it's weird to talk about her after everything that happened. The weird stuff started pretty soon after the fall semester started. I want to say November? But I couldn't tell you exactly what day or week. I mean, like I said, I barely knew Ari. None of us really knew Ari. But we had gone to school together for a while at that point, so we all kind of knew her habits. Like how Ari was always the last to leave the studio. She was always working on adjustments and appliques or something until super late, and it wasn't really unusual to let her do the locking up at the end of the night. so I didn't think anything of it when I finished letting out a seam in a skirt for an actress, hung it back up, and waved goodbye to Ari. She was bent over a cloak or something, focusing intently on hand-stitching some rhinestones to it. She didn't say goodbye to me, just nodded without looking up, which also wasn't all that unusual for Ari. Except the next afternoon, when I showed up for a shift, Ari was still there. She was usually early, that wasn't all that strange, but she was sitting in the exact same spot. I mean, the exact same spot. I guess it's possible she could have just sat down again in the same spot and it was just a coincidence, but something about her body told me it wasn't. She was bent in the same way, her legs locked stiffly, her head craned down at her work in the precise angle it had been the night before. She'd been sitting in the dark, too, like a fucking creep. I nearly screamed when I turned on the studio lights to see her sitting there. This is obviously strange, right? Abnormal, yes. I mean, even for Ari, the thought that she had just sat there sewing all night without moving was unsettling. But I noticed other things. Her dark hair was lighter than it had been the night before, and when I looked closer, it looked almost like a light dusting of cobweb was covering her head, which was odd, but not inexplicable. She was also sewing something different. It wasn't anything I recognized from the adjustments needed rack we all usually pull from. It looked like her own work, which wasn't really allowed while we were on the clock. But it was also not right. I don't know how to explain it. She was working on this complicated shawl-looking thing, maybe a coat. She was hand-stitching some embroidery on it, and it was bad. To look at, I mean. Looking at it felt bad. It made my stomach start to churn like I had eaten something that had spoiled. The intricate design was almost hypnotic. Actually, and this is terrible to think after what happened to her, but now that I think about it, it looked almost like a web design. When I asked her what she was doing, she didn't move, which, okay, again, not all that unusual for Ari. But I asked her again, and I walked right up to her and shook her shoulder. I told her to snap out of it. I asked if she'd been there all night, and what did she think she was doing? She did look up at me that time, and I screamed. Her eyes were black. Completely black. Not like a possessed person in a movie, not like she was wearing contacts. I mean a solid, beady black. Black of animal eyes. And she had 8 of them, glinting up at me like spider eyes. The skin around them puckered and folded in horrible ways, like her face was trying to make more room that it simply didn't have. In different places, her face was tearing in order to fit them all, and I could see the glint of wet, pink muscle and blood. She got up and scuttled out of the room on her hands and knees while I was still screaming. Look, I know how it sounds. And I told you, I don't believe in any supernatural bullshit. So, I don't know, maybe I had eaten something that had gone off. Maybe I was just spooked by how weird Ari was acting. Seeing what I wanted to see. Right? I did watch her closely after that, though. And you know how I know I was probably seeing things? She was totally normal. No cobwebs, no spider eyes, and I never saw her working on that embroidery project after that. I practically stalked her like an insane person for 3 weeks, and nothing seemed wrong. Marcia complained all the time that I was becoming obsessed with her. She made jokes that I'd suddenly become bi or something stupid and vaguely homophobic, I can't remember. But eventually I had to admit that I had just been hallucinating or something. Like I said, probably ate something bad or maybe drank a little too much. But in December, well, you've seen the news. You know she went missing. And I saw her the night before she went missing. I saw her and I still don't know what to make of it. I don't believe in the paranormal. I don't. I just think that maybe you can find out stuff the cops couldn't, right? Maybe you might have an explanation for what I saw. It was nighttime because, of course, it had to be nighttime. Why wouldn't something incredibly ominous happen at night? I was the last person at the theater for once, and I had just finished tailoring a jacket. I was shutting everything down, unplugging the sewing machines, turning off the lights, and then I heard something. A shuffling in the corner. At first, I thought one of my coworkers was about to jump out at me to surprise me or something stupid, so I just rolled my eyes and called out to identify the source of the noise. But there wasn't any answer, and I got scared. Like, what if it was a burglar or a homicidal maniac? Don't make fun of me. There are plenty of stories about college kids getting murdered on campuses late at night. So I tried to grab the best weapon I could think of. I picked up one of the desk chairs sitting next to a sewing machine, and I slowly turned the lights back on. There, sitting bent over in the corner of the room, I mean, of course it was Ari. Of course. Why wouldn't it be? She was working on something with her back to me. I swear, I almost bashed her with the chair just out of sheer annoyance. I put the chair down and started yelling at her, asking what the hell did she think she was doing, because she wasn't even working that night, berating her for giving me basically a heart attack, etc., etc. She wasn't responding, and I was so damn angry that I strode right up to her and spun her around myself. And it was like that other time. 8 pitch-black eyes, animal eyes, tearing into the skin of her face, weeping muscle and blood, cobwebs tangled in her hair and eyelashes. I froze. I couldn't even scream that time. Wrapped around her shoulders was that embroidered shawl with its sickening web pattern. I stumbled back. I think I fell over. I was tripping over my own feet, and she... God. It was horrible. Thinking about it is horrible. I hate this. I hate that I saw it, and I hate that I came here to write you a fucking statement about it, and I hate that everyone thinks that I'm crazy. I think I'm crazy. I mean, there has to be a rational explanation, right? Sorry, she screamed at me. A low, moaning scream in multiple voices. That wasn't the worst part, though. Out of all of this, that wasn't the worst part. The eyes, the blood, the cobwebs, the scream. What broke me, what made me scream back and scramble back onto my feet and run like hell, was that there was something moving behind her teeth. I didn't realize what they were until they started spilling out from between her lips. Tiny, crawling legs. Thousands of sets of matching, beady black eyes, gushing from her mouth like a fountain. I fled. I shoved past her and I just ran. I ran until I got back to my dorm, and I locked the door and pushed my desk in front of it, and I spent the rest of the night crying and shaking because how the hell are you supposed to react to something like that? Ari didn't show up for classes or for work the next day. Later, when she didn't show up for a dinner with her parents or something, the university filed a missing persons report. There. That's it. It's basically everything I told the cops, too. They think I'm on drugs or something, but you have to believe me. That's what this place does. I researched it. You listen to all the insane people off the streets, and you believe anything and everything. Listen, I need you to do a better job investigating than the cops. There has to be a rational explanation for this. There has to be, because... And I haven't told this part to the cops, but... I've been seeing a lot more spiders around my dorm recently. And I'm pretty sure they're following me. Statement ends. I've actually encountered this account before. When I worked in artifact storage, I helped document one of the items there that I believe is connected to Mr. Craven's account. It's a shawl that does indeed have an unsettling pattern embroidered onto it. According to the record in artifact storage, the shawl was recovered from a police investigation into the dormitory of Ari Idman, after the case was officially documented as a quote-unquote cold case. According to police records, Ari simply vanished into thin air one night. No sign of her was ever found. I attempted to contact Mr. Craven about this statement, but discovered that he passed away about a year after visiting us. He had apparently gone missing from classes and work, and his friend, Miss Marcia Hutchinson, went to his dorm to find him. According to her account, she discovered his body in a rather grotesque fashion. It was stuck to the wall, suspended by a thick layer of what appeared to be cobwebs. Police autopsy reports state that the body was half liquefied. Kaylee was able to get in contact with Miss Hutchinson, but she politely declined to give further details. Even Mari and Kaylee agree there's not exactly a rational explanation for any of this, despite Mr. Craven's desperation for one. People don't just die splattered and liquefied and covered in cobwebs. Actually, Mari seemed very interested in this case, which was a refreshing change from their usual attitude. We've decided to file any spider-related statements separately to go over together at a later time, and... we've invested in a lot of bug spray. Anytime we see a spider, we've decided to just kill it on sight. Which, considering all this, is probably for the best. End tape.
The Magnus Archives is a podcast written by Jonathan Sims and produced by Alexander J. Newall, and distributed by Rusty Quill. Story, characters, and ideas written about in this fan-made project belong to Rusty Quill. Special thanks for this episode goes to Emma, Mari D., Amber, and Kaylee F. for editing. All audio used in this project was Creative Commons Use Audio. Thank you for listening.